from across the world, election professionals and experts, academics, members of political parties, NGOs, and the media. The conference is hosted by the Electoral Commission of South Africa together with the AWEB. His Excellency President Thabo Mbeki, a champion of South Africa's democracy, delivered the opening address at this historic conference. He indicated that, and I quote, "The vision and objectives of democracy is that the people shall govern. The focus must be on the systems that are put in place to ensure that this takes place, that people are given the right and opportunity to elect their representatives." I close quote. The President indicated that there are many things a conference like this calls on us to do and reminds him of the duty we all have. And he said, I quote again, "This international conference offers an excellent opportunity to electoral management bodies and other key election actors to discuss what is to be done to protect electoral management bodies so that they can fully discharge their responsibilities." I close quote. President Mbeki challenged many of us this morning, and he concluded by making very succinct calls. And I want to quote him. He says, "Nothing succeeds by default. The success of a democracy that delivers and improves livelihoods for the majority of people requires deliberate steps to be taken towards the attainment of such ideals. One of these steps involves the processes by which the people are able to choose who should govern and how any mandate is given to or withdrawn from those who are elected. Hence the importance of this conference." I close quote. For me, development will remain a distant mirage if we do not thwart the alarming erosion of democratic gains characterized by the assault on democratic institutions by the anti-democracy forces, whether in new, small, or big democracies. It is my considered view that elections will not contribute to democracy and development if such elections fall short of the minimum benchmarks for democratic elections. Hence, as election management bodies, we can no longer focus on the counting on the counting of the ballots that have been cast or the registration of voters that we have on our voters' rolls. We must confront the daunting task and challenge of worldwide democratic reversals that impact the electoral processes, democracy, and development. Speakers this morning proceeded to interrogate various aspects of the conference theme, including the global impact of democratic recession on electoral processes, the performance of electoral management bodies, public participation, and overall electoral integrity. Professor Larry Diamond of Stanford University joined us from California online and observed a period of democratic recession since the early 1990s and began to recount some of those developments for us. He shared that a trend of creeping autocracies and eroding institutional autonomy that for him is so evident and he's drawing our attention to. He indicated the causes of democratic recession and included amongst others the weak rule of law, the weak political institutions, and the executive aggrandizement of power in the context of severe polarization around party, ethnic, religious, class, or identity lines. He pointed out that poor economic performance, weakening civil society, and generally low trust in institutions are issues we have to be alive to. In postulating a response on what is to be done, Professor Diamond said, and I quote, "Strengthen the civic ecosystem around free and fair elections. Reform and strengthen the apparatus of the state to combat corruption. Revive public commitment to democratic norms and combat political polarization." I close quote. These mitigation measures will be further unpacked throughout the conference by the panel discussions, including continental electoral management bodies and other technical experts, intergovernmental organizations, civil society organizations, and the media that will be engaging in this discussion this afternoon. The start of the conference has given delegates a wealth of ideas which would be considered in generating ideas about mitigation measures to safeguard election management bodies in this period of democratic recession. The Electoral Commission of Colombia was elected as vice chairperson of AWEB, a development we welcome in the AWEB family. They, being Colombia, will assume the chairpersonship of this world body in 2024 when South Africa's term of office will conclude. I welcome Jose with me here this afternoon as the representative of the Electoral Commission in Colombia. The following countries were also elected into the executive board of the AWEB: Ecuador, Guatemala, Indonesia, Libya, Maldives, Mauritius, the Philippines, Peru, Samoa, Sierra Leone, and Timor-Leste. The Electoral Commission of South Africa commits to working with the Electoral Commission of Colombia and the Executive Board in a harmonious manner. The first meeting of the Executive Board will take place in the first quarter of 2023. As part of its legacy, the Electoral Commission of South Africa intends to use its position in terms of, amongst others, one, electoral scholarship. We are looking at deepening electoral management bodies, institutional building, and skills capacitation of electoral managers in the continent through senior degrees in election management and sponsored research fellowship. Secondly, we are looking at growing membership of the AWEB by expanding beyond the established democracies, which is where it is mostly concentrated. In other words, we are looking at countries that have opportunity to gain from the membership of this, even as they lift the quality of their domestic democracies. Thirdly, we are looking at the improvement of regional coordination in our part of the world, on the continent, but also using the structure of AWEB that works across the regions of the world. This conference has laid a foundation from which South Africa's agenda for its chairpersonship will be articulated. Building the resilience of election management bodies will be a cornerstone of our agenda over the next 2 years. We hold a firm view that electoral democracy is too precious a commodity for it to be undermined by the evolving democratic recession. Our CEO would say this to yourselves. We thank you so much for this afternoon. And with me, I have my colleagues. I have, as Dr. Masuku has indicated, the Secretary General, Mr. Young. We have Mr. Flores with us, and I am here with you. Thank you so much, Dr. Masuku.